Hi, it's time for Good Energy, and I'm Dr. Julie, and welcome to Bodyful Day 197, Shortness of Breath, and the senses. Today we're talking about the sense of taste. And we're going to go ahead and dig into the second day of shortness of breath by looking at how the sense of taste, how what goes on our tongue and goes into our ingestions in our body can affect our ability to breathe. All right, let's start with our regular. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. Go ahead and take a deep breath in. You're going to expand in the belly, expand in the chest, expand in the sinuses, and tuck your tail and release. And today we are talking about shortness of breath, but we're talking about shortness of breath in terms of taste. So as you breathe in, I want you to not taste the air, but sense the air as it goes in through your nose, past your pharynx and your nasopharynx, which is eating, and oral pharynx, which is eating and airflow, and into your lungs. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. All right. So on this crisp autumn day in Iowa, let's talk about the sense of taste and how it is affected and affects our shortness of breath. So remember, we're always working from the healing equation. Energy to heal equals good energy and minus stressors. And taste can be both good energy in and stressors, just like sight could be both good energy in and stressors. So when we think about taste, let's start with the good energy in. Now, think about your most favorite food in the world. Just think about your most favorite food in the world. It could be savory, it could be sweet. And think about how it tastes. Think about how it feels. In British Bake Off, they would call it mouthfeel. See how it feels in your mouth. Imagine how it feels in your mouth, and then take a breath in. Taste, when it is good energy in, will expand your ability to breathe. Now that is just based pure on feeling. That has nothing to do with spices and flavors and textures and things that are good for breathing, but they are merely things that are good energy in. And remember, we've talked about this for a while now. Things that are good energy in relax your nervous system and allow your body to expand, taking a deep breath in rather than protect itself and take a shorter breath in. So in terms of taste, we could initially argue that things that taste good are good energy in, but we of course know that there are some little blurbs and baubles in there. So depending upon what you're thinking about, eating half a pound of candy corn, it's probably not going to get you a good breath in, even though it's one of your favorites. But maybe eating a couple of pieces of candy corn, or thinking about candy corn and the memory that goes with candy corn, or the little candied pumpkins. I'm actually a fan of candied pumpkins above candy corn. Don't ask me why. And thinking about one of your favorite foods, I actually envisioned lefse, being the good, strong Norwegian that I am. I had lefse with sugar and butter in my head, and definitely my body just relaxed and I felt good to take a breath in. Now, there are herbs and spices that are really good for breath, and we've talked about them before. We've talked about menthol coming from mint and peppermint and spearmint, and those flavors will help you breathe deeper, not just in your sinuses but in your lungs, but they're also calming for the diaphragm and relaxing for the breath itself. We've also talked about steaming thyme. Thymol is very good for the lungs. Thymol, which is the active alcohol in thyme, can increase your ability to breathe, which means that when you are having shortness of breath, things like peppermint, things like thyme, things like rosemary, things like cedar and cypress are all really good ways of getting good energy in so that you can take a deeper breath. Now, let's think about the stressors. So clearly, if we're talking about taste stressors, we're talking about allergies. So even anaphylactic, like totally allergy, like puts you in anaphylactic shock. What they do is that the initial response may be swelling in the face, may be swelling in the throat, but the initial response to something that you are allergic to is your body tightening up. So if you have an allergy, a known allergy, shellfish, onions, tomatoes, a known allergy, bee stings, but we're talking about taste, so don't go there with that one. If you have a known food allergy or a known food sensitivity, so, imagine eating a entire 5-gallon pail of ice cream. No, not going to go any further than that. When you think about the stressor, that taste stressor, it will shut your system down. And interestingly, one of the things, I've got a couple of squirrels that are having fun over here, or fighting, one of the above, I'm not sure which. One of the things we have to think about is that that loss of breath can happen with any food, and that taste component, we've talked about this before. We talked about the study that showed that cyclists who just put something in their mouth and spit it back out had improved function, had improved speed, had improved times when they were sprinting. Their times were shorter. Even though they just put it in their mouth, the brain registered that chemical profile as something good. When we think about food as a stressor, when we think about allergies and sensitivities, putting that food in your mouth will cause a stress response. And when we're talking about shortness of breath, that stress response, the initial stress response, not even just putting it on your tongue and having your tongue swell up, the very first response that your body's going to have to something that you're allergic to will be a decrease in the ability to breathe. So putting something in your mouth that is not good for you will reduce your breath. You will not be able to get as much of a breath in because your nervous system is going to clamp you down. So we can think about really, really spicy, we'll come back to spicy foods in a second, but we can think about allergies just like we think about choking. It is when we choke, we physically are blocking that the food that we eat physically blocks our breath. But when we are food sensitive or we are food allergic, that is a nervous system response that makes us have shortness of breath. All right, so last but not least, I want to talk about spices. So spices do an interesting thing. Spices change how your tongue feels. Certain spices numb out the system, which can alter how you breathe as well. Mace, nutmeg, clove, all really good at numbing out the tongue. Szechuan peppercorns, again, numbing out the tongue. Szechuan peppercorns are not related to pepper, like black pepper. I think they actually are more related to nutmeg than they are to actual peppercorns. Szechuan peppercorns have a numbing agent, and when you numb the system, it too alters your breathing. And in fact, initially, because it is a numbing effect, and if you don't know that it's coming, it will be shocking and it will cause stress. So numbing, heat, if you are not prepared for it, again, it's a stressor. Now, you could love heat and you could love the numbing effects of mace and nutmeg and clove and Szechuan peppercorns. So you are totally in on the numbing effect, which means in that case it is good energy in. So this is how taste, this is just a hint of how taste can affect shortness of breath. But the very cool thing is that shortness of breath can be manipulated by psychological factors, which we talked about yesterday, can be manipulated by biological factors, and can be manipulated by neurology. And food sensitivities, food allergies, and foods that aren't good for your body at the time will cause your breath to be reduced. And so that is a tool you can use to figure out whether or not something is good for you to eat. All right, I hope this has been helpful. Let's finish it off. Take a deep breath in and release. Have a great day. I'll see you here tomorrow.